Kristen Bride lost her 16-year-old son Carson to suicide after he was viciously harassed on Snapchat and third-party messaging apps.
There are no words to describe the tragedy of that morning and every day afterwards.
Loved ones in search of answers after a 14-year-old University City boy took his own life hours after a social media post targeted him. As a police investigation begins, family members tell ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chen the teen was cyberbullied because of his sexuality.
All right, so this is like the kind of photo I posted.
Social media, teen depression, and suicide. There's mounting evidence there may be a link. The latest study out this week in Clinical Psychological Science finds that self-reported incidents of depression and suicide rates among teenagers spiked between 2010 and 2015. During the time, social media surged in popularity.
By far the biggest change in teens' lives between 2012 and 2015 was the huge increase in smartphone ownership and then the subsequent increase in time spent online and on social media.
Researchers have found the risks increase in teens who spend more than 2 hours a day on their smartphones.
You have to grab the phone out of your teen's hands, that it's small to moderate amounts of use seem to be the sweet spot for better mental health.
Shaken by 3 suicides in their community in the past year, a group of teenagers in Littleton, Colorado, took matters into their own hands. Starting with a website, Joe Roberts and 24 teens organized a challenge for other teens to stay offline during October.
It's kind of ridiculous. Like, people will compete with other people to see how many likes they get on a photo. And I mean, we're just like, let's just get off of it. Like, it's become too much. Like, social media, it's just really become too much.
Their efforts garnered more than 1,600 pledges, as well as participation from 240 schools in 26 states and 7 countries. It's the first year the high schoolers organized the event. It's not the first time that some form of outside media has been blamed for teen depression and suicide. In the mid-1980s, British rock singer Ozzy Osbourne faced a lawsuit that alleged his song Suicide Solution led to a teen suicide. The song was anti-suicide, Osbourne argued, and he won his case. But these teens, as well as researchers and psychologists, say there's more at play with social media.
You'll see your friends like out doing fun stuff and maybe you weren't invited. And I just know that has like a really big negative impact on some people.
The more time they're spending on social media, the greater the risk of exposure to things like cyberbullying might be, which then does have a direct link to depression. So it's not kind of as easy and as linear as just saying social media has caused an increase or is even correlated with an increase in depression, but it's absolutely correlated with these other factors that we know lead to an increased risk of depression.
For the organizers of Offline October, staying off devices gave them a chance to watch this sunrise from Red Rocks Amphitheater and connect with friends in person. Peter Banda, Associated Press, Littleton, Colorado.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Speak Your Mind. We're here live. My name is Pastor Giovanni, and we are going to be together in this program to discuss our following question. Let's see if we can put it up now on our screen. Social media, does it have a positive or negative impact on young people? I do not find myself here alone, but I have Miss Audrey with me. Miss Audrey, good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, Pastor. I'm well, thank you, and welcome all to another episode of Speak Your Mind. And today's a very interesting topic as we're talking about social media, as you are able to actually connect now through Facebook, through YouTube, through Tuber. It's a great way, to be able to connect, but also it has its downsides, its negative effects, which we'll be speaking about during our program. So I want to invite you all, don't forget our Telegram poll. You can go ahead and scan our QR code and go ahead and participate of our poll. We'll be announcing the results.
Thank you so much. You can give us a call right now on the number that appears on the bottom of your screen, 877-785-8700, or through WhatsApp. You can send us a message, 437-233-9815. I think we already have a caller, Miss Pamela, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if we can connect her already. Miss Pamela, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
How you doing, Miss Pamela?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm very good. How about yourself, sir?
I'm good. Miss Pamela, we're asking everybody the following about the impact that social media has? Do you think when it comes to youth, it has a more of a positive impact or more of a negative impact on young people nowadays?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I do think that it does. I think it can kind of go in a way both ways. I think it depends, like, for example, on the person, like how much time they do spend on social media and like how they use it. But lately, I do think like this, like newer generation, I do think that it's having like a negative effect because a lot of the times, like they're influenced a lot, you know, by like what they see, and also it affects like their like the way that they see themselves and things like that. So it's just kind of like they want to do things to kind of go along with the flow. They want to like be able to like fit in, and they worry so much about like how many followers they have and if they have likes on their pictures or not. So I think that for like the younger generation, like the younger kids now, like it's having a negative effect on them. It's not really being as positive as people would want it to be.
Now, Ms. Pamela, one of the reports that we were listening to right before we came live was about how this young man had committed suicide. Do you think there is a way that the young person, for example, who watches us now, do you think there's a way they can kind of shield themselves or kind of ignore? Is it as easy as just not paying attention to negative comments so that the youth can feel comfortable? How do you think they can overcome those what's negative on social media?
So honestly, I don't think it's as easy to overcome, you can say, like the comments online, because everyone's like different. So there's some people that they're a bit more sensible and they can take the comments that are made like very personal, and they can really let it get to them. I mean, as we've seen, it's happened. Know that there's like people that end up like, you know, taking their own life because they receive insults, they're bullied online and things like that. And not everyone, you know, takes it the same way. And it's crazy because I've seen times where like people on the comments, as a person's like maybe doing a live or something, like they'll encourage that person to take their own life, which is pretty crazy nowadays. But people encourage it. They tell them, yeah, you know, you might as well do it. So I do think that it's getting harder and harder for youth to be able to, you can say, shield themselves or, you know, not take in those comments that they see online about themselves. I don't think it's that easy. Honestly, I think it just depends on like, you know, how much they use their social media.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple of friends that don't have social media, or they don't use it as much just because they want to avoid just being too involved on that.
Pamela?
Would you, Pam, be somebody more lenient towards not being on social media, or are you the few that enjoy social media for what it is and don't take it too serious?
So personally, I do like social media, but I am careful with like, you know, like what accounts I follow or who I let, you know, them follow me on social media. I'm also careful with like the content that I have on my feed, things like that. If I ever see like, you know, like a video or something like that that I don't like, that, you know, I don't like have the same views as that video or anything like that, I will like, you know, I'll block it or things like that. So I am in that way a little bit careful about it. But I mean, I think it just comes down to that as well, you know, like what pages you follow, because obviously, you know, like whatever they post will come on your feed. So I'm a little bit more careful with that area.
Pamela?
On social media.
I think Miss Audrey has a question for you, Pam.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. I actually wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts in regards to age restriction or limits? Do you think there's a specific age group where certain youths, teens should be allowed to be able to use social media? Or do you think, what's your opinion on this matter in regards to social media and age groups?
To answer your question, Ms. Audrey, I do believe that I don't believe that younger kids, you know, like maybe let's say like 12 and under maybe should be allowed to, like, let's say, you know, have like a Instagram account or things like that, you know, because I think they're so much more easily influenced by what they see on social media. I do think that they are more susceptible to you know, even being involved with like, you know, I don't know if you've seen a little bit that's been happening, like people that on Instagram, they're pedophiles and, you know, they groom these kids that are very young, very, you know, easily influenced. So personally, I don't think like I don't have any kids, but I don't think that maybe like 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds and younger should have, you know, so much access to social media, because I think they're at a very like age range in which they can be easily like influenced by what they see. So I personally, I wouldn't, if I had a child, I wouldn't let them like have their own like Instagram account or anything like that, to avoid them, you know, being even more so influenced by what they would see on their phone.
Ms. Pam, I know how you said that you wouldn't let your kid if you had one. To be honest, I'm at the point where I'm glad my mom does not have one, because I don't have kids either, but I'm glad my mom doesn't have one either. Shout out to my mom if she's watching us now. Ms. Pam, thank you so much for speaking your mind with us. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you.
You can keep calling us right now, 877-785-8700. Miss Audrey, I think we have some comments, correct?
We do, Pastor. We have here Luke that says, our generation has a serious problem with this. I notice the damage that it does to me and in terms of concentration and joy, but there's a lot of people who do it and do it carelessly. For example, with viral challenges. We have noticed that many people do it just because everybody else is doing and then lead with bad consequences. Wish I could stop, as sometimes we see bad things, but everything seems so boring. So here we have Luke that mentions his comment here. And you can go ahead and continue sending your message to our WhatsApp 437-233-9815.
Let's see if we're able to go to our next video that we have prepared. And when we come back, we're going to be answering more phone calls. If you're watching us from whatever part of the world, here in Toronto, here in Canada, then you guys are more than welcome to contact us. We'll be right back.
Teenagers Sarah and Zoe know all about the dangers of social media.
I was staying up till 1 a.m, messaging friends, you know, occasionally getting in a fight that would keep me up all night.
Zoe too was in a dark place, with both girls spending hours examining their appearance in microscopic detail.
A lot of those before and afters that I'd get on TikTok and on Instagram, I would often look like the befores.
I'd like weigh myself and I'd think about what do I have to do in order to be like them. And the filters, oh yeah, I'd go on like the filters that like make my face look skinnier, and the makeup.
All the comments and that, I couldn't stop myself from reading them, and they'd be, oh, I love the after, or how did you get there? You know, what's your workout plan? What's your diet like?
I went to a point where I'd never send a photo to my friends without a filter.
If they're not happy with the before, why should I be?
We weren't born hating our bodies. We've bought into the message that we should be something other than what we are. It's not what we're here to do.
The problems with social media have been well documented. It causes anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem.
The statistics are alarming. 77% of Australian young adults report body image distress. Now, back in 2009, that was 33%. So we can see that it's tracking in not a good direction.
10 years ago, filmmaker Taran Brumfitt started a global movement to help people embrace their bodies.
We have the resources, we know what to do, we know how to fix this problem.
Through lectures, her book and a documentary, she's reached over 200 million people. Now she's determined to help kids embrace their bodies with a new film.
I feel like people are trying to be this false person, like they want to try to be that skinny girl, but you don't have to be, you just have to be yourself.
There's lots of things that we can do. The first thing is we can role model positive body image behaviour. So that means never talking negatively about your body in front of your kids. Also, moving our bodies for pleasure and not punishment.
I have a Pinterest board. Hold up.
I have
I love Pinterest. Taran has built a personal bond with teenagers like Sarah and Zoe, teaching them to navigate the online world.
Looking back at it now, and I was like, wow, social media really did change me.
Hamish has been dancing since he was 3 years old, but after being bullied online, he almost gave it up.
I did ballet especially, and they didn't really like that. So I got called names and just teased for doing ballet.
Hamish didn't want to say what exactly he'd been called, but it had a devastating effect.
It definitely made me question whether I should be doing dance or should I be fitting in to be what everyone else is like.
Hamish says Taran helped him to keep dancing.
Taran definitely taught us about social media, especially following people that make you happy.
The world will try to tell them to be different or to change something about themselves. And if they know that that's not right, then the world and the messages, it can't penetrate.
Taran's not against social media. She points to 10-year-old Enzo Cornejo as an object lesson in its proper use and an inspiration to those anxious about their appearance.
Millions of videos over here. I started doing these animations in 2021. I think it was after when I got out of the hospital.
Enzo was born with progeria, an extremely rare and rapid aging disease.
1 in 20 million people have that. And guess what? I am the only one that's in Australia. I think that's why I'm getting popular.
Enzo's grown up embracing his own differences and wants other kids to be able to do the same.
So people could embrace their bodies. So they could have a very, very happy life. And they could enjoy everything.
Social media.
And the question that we're asking everybody is the one right there on the screen. Does social media have more of a positive impact or a negative impact on young people? One of the things, Mrs. Audrey, that Pamela was saying that was kind of interesting. She said that sometimes you see a lot of youth who get more inclined with negative things. And you know, as we know a little bit about the Instagram algorithm, whatever it is that you look up will pop up more on your feed, and it's unfortunately a bit surprising what happens when you type in or when you even search depression, sad quotes. And there are people that, you know, because unfortunately they're going through a rough time, that's exactly what they look for, and it's exactly what they find. Mrs. Audrey, do you have any comments?
Yes, Pastor, we have Stephanie that says social media can be fun. Yes, understand we live in a digital age, but we can't let social media take over our lives, and that includes all ages. I believe, as we mentioned here in the program, there should be a limit to certain age groups. So she has here also, we have Sarah that says like this: social media is a double-edged sword, capable of controlling and empowering individuals. It can be a dangerous tool, fueling misinformation and manipulating, while also serving as a valuable platform for communication and knowledge sharing. With its vast reach and access to extensive library of knowledge, social media presents us with opportunities and risks that demands critical awareness and responsible use. So there we have it, Pastor. A lot of people that are going to give their opinions and are going to be for the benefits of social media or against because of the harm that it can cause. And you can continue sharing your thoughts here on our show, and we'll share here live.
And I think now we have another caller. Let's see if we can connect them. Reminding all of you that the lines are open and completely free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to wait on call either. You can just give us a call and give your opinion. Let's see if we can connect the phone call now. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hello?
Yes, Edgar.
Yes.
Edgar, how you doing, Edgar?
I'm doing great,
Edgar, we're asking everybody the following question about social media. Do you think it has more of a positive impact or a negative impact when it comes to young people?
When it comes to young people, me personally, I believe that it has a lot to do with negative. Only reason why is because like a lot of people portray to be something they're not on social media. And you know, the younger people or youths, they believe it and they like want to be like that person, but even that person is not like that person. So I just feel like people perceive wrong things and they try to like reach for it, or they do anything to reach for it. And then like, you know, you have like everybody wants to be like a supermodel, or everybody wants to look good, so that people they get false advertisements of other things. Like they say, oh yeah, drink this, it'll make you get your hair like this, or drink this, it'll make you lose weight.
Now,
you know, people don't know about it. They go and then they do it, and yeah.
Now, Edgar, quick question. If you were able to, what do you think you would probably change about that negative influence? So what do you think is one way that maybe we can kind of either raise awareness or even kind of change in Instagram, Facebook, things like that to have more of a positive influence?
Well, I feel like we should just like be more real. Like, for example, when people post things, I feel like they should be motivate people to be better than like be a better person than they were yesterday, tomorrow. Like every single day, just motivate themselves to like even like sometimes there's some things that people like they go through something and they need help or like they don't have no one to talk to, so they go let's say on Instagram and they see like a reel of a guy motivating him. He's gonna feel motivated.
Yeah.
So I feel like there should be more output of that.
So like more things that motivate.
Sorry?
More things that motivate?
Yes, to motivate the youth to like be better, just to better themselves in any way possible.
Now, Edgar, last question. Sometimes when they ask celebrities, whether that be a rapper, a singer, an artist, whoever it may be, about their social media, majority of the times, there are some who say the following: it's not my job, or although I am famous, they're not portraying to be a role model to people who watch them. Do you agree with that? Or do you think by default, famous people do have a responsibility to be a positive influence on people nowadays?
Yeah, I agree with the last part. I feel like by default, they are like responsible because famous people, like people look up to them because that's what people want to be. A lot of people want to be famous. A lot of people want to have what they have. And if they're doing it the bad way, then of course it's going to be really different and difficult for someone to like try to be that. But like they should have that responsibility because like they have so many eyes on them by default. But everyone's looking at what they do, like how they dress, what they wear, how they talk. If they use different type of language or like what do they eat, or like they have to be that role model by default.
Edgar, thank you so much for speaking your mind with us. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you, you too, sir. Enjoy
Take
your
care.
night.
Thank you. We're gonna go to our next video, and you can keep calling us, shooting us a text, and we'll be right back.
Social media addiction is a growing concern for many parents. In fact, according to Pew Research, 97% of U.S. teenagers go online every single day, and 46% say they're almost constantly online. 54% of teens say it would be really hard to give up social media.
So when's the right time for teens to start using social media? Well, joining us now is United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, who recently made headlines warning that 13 is far too young to join social media. Welcome back to GMA3.
Well, thanks so much. Good to be with you.
Of course. Now, what problems are we seeing when it comes to young people and kids on apps like TikTok and Instagram? And what is the data telling you?
Well, let me tell you why I'm concerned. And it's a combination of data and stories that have really led to my concern. As Surgeon General, I've traveled the country and talked to parents and kids all across America. I've also talked to researchers who have studied this area, and more the data is telling us that social media use for many children is associated with increased risk of depression, anxiety, and other mental health symptoms. It also, in many kids, is contributing to their sense of loneliness and impacting their own self-esteem. But when I talk to children and parents, the number one question parents ask me is social media hurting my children? And kids have a remarkable amount of insight. They tell me three things consistently about social media. One, that it makes them feel worse about themselves. Two, that it makes them feel worse about their friendships. But three, that they can't get off of it. And that's a really important point for us to underscore here, which is while parents and kids are fighting this battle, trying to figure out how to manage social media, these platforms have been designed by some of the best product designers in the world, and they're designed to bring and reel our kids in, to keep them on these devices and maximum time spent. But that's not always good for our children. And so this is not a fair fight that's being waged. The best product designers and companies versus parents and kids. We've got to stand up for parents, we've got to stand up for kids. And that's one of the many reasons I issued a Surgeon General's advisory on youth mental health last year, because we have a youth mental health crisis in America, and social media is an important part of that.
What do we know in terms of brain development about, is there a sweet spot? Is this an all or nothing phenomenon? Let's talk about early adolescence, for example.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Jen. And what we know is that phase of early adolescence, this is a time when kids' brains are developing, but they're also developing in terms of their social relationships. It's a critical time when children are also developing their own self-esteem and sense of identity. And in that time, what we need to do is surround them with healthy environments that help them build healthy relationships with themselves and others. But unfortunately, for many children, that is not their experience with social media. And one other critical data point it's important to know is the University of Michigan had done a study back in 2021 showing that parents of kids 10 through 12, 49% of them say that their kids are on social media. And 1/3 of parents of kids 7 through 9 say that their kids are using social media. So while I'm concerned about the age 13, I'm also concerned about all the kids under the age of 13 who are currently using social media and really shouldn't be. So if there are rules in place, they're not being enforced. But I believe, as a society, we've got to raise the age at which kids can use these platforms and actually enforce it. We also have to demand transparency from companies when it comes to the data that they have, because independent researchers do not have access to this data to understand the full impact on the mental health of our kids. And finally, we need to have safety standards, Jen. Many of the products that I have in my own home and that many of us have in our home have to meet a certain safety standard before we could purchase them. Millions of our children are using these platforms, yet the safety standards are just not adequate in my point of view. So these are areas where we can make a difference in society, and we've got to do it because parents and kids are really struggling right now.
And we're back, and I want to get the perspective of Brenda. Let's see if we can connect her now. Brenda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Brenda, it says here you work with kids in an elementary school. We're asking everybody the following questions about social media. Now, it's more targeted toward young people, but since you work with kids, have you ever seen, Brenda, social media even be sort of like an influence on the kids you take care of?
Yes, I've had for majority of the part. One, because since I work with younger children, they tend to be addictive on the platforms and on their phones, especially when the parents hand it out to them. And they tend to have a really destructive behavior, a behavior sometimes where they just act up. They have aggressiveness towards the time, and they just want something to calm them down. And that's where, they be asking for a phone, or, hey, I want to watch a video, or I want to go to, like YouTube or these other platforms that they have available, because of, some of the parents that have them, giving them like that permission to be on the phone. And academically speaking, they don't do so well in the classes, and they just tend to, slowly progress down, and it's just, it's just a little bit of behavioral wise and academic whenever they're just, focused on being in the platforms. And not only that, but it kind of also develops their self-esteem to be low
now,
as well within themselves.
Now, Brenda, as compared, for example, when I was in elementary school, we didn't really have social media. We barely had phones. Is there a certain thing that little kids talk about? Is there a certain app that they're more on? I don't really think elementary school kids are on Facebook now, or Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Is there an app that they usually talk about now?
They do. They actually do talk a lot about TikTok. And TikTok is something that is like very popular amongst them, and they just love to see, like those short reels, everything that goes on with whether like it's promoting a video game or a movie that is coming out or a TV show. They specifically love to talk a lot about TikTok. It's one of the platforms that is mostly popular right now.
And I think Ms. Audrey has a question.
Yes, Brenda, sorry to interrupt. I actually wanted to ask, what is your opinion on, in regards to social media, right? You said with kids, do you think that parents are like kind of to blame in regards to allowing their kids at an early age, so young, to be able to have access to social media?
In my opinion, I say yes, because at such a young age, they're in a young age where they soak up everything, everything that they see, everything that they listen, that they watch, they soak all of that in, and they start getting ideas from it. And they even, talk about it with their friends, and it's just, it sometimes becomes chaotic in the classroom. So yeah,
I can imagine.
yeah.
And now, Brenda,
Yeah, it's
if you were able maybe to change something about the way either kids watch or the parents who allow that, what do you think you would change in those little habits of what kids have on social media?
I would say more like a parental lock. I think that's how you say it, like wherever they kind of limit on what a child watches on, the platforms, whether it's like TikTok or, like YouTube, because it is really broad and it's like really open. So when parents don't put that limits in those platforms, the child's able to see anything they want.
Yeah.
And that is a risk. So it is better for the parent just to put like a limit, because they have that nowadays in the app, whether they watch it in, like Prime, Amazon, or whatever they have, platforms they have at home. It is better to have them have like a limit on what the child is able to see, just because they should also watch on how their child is behaving in a certain way, and that would help a lot whenever they have those limits, just because it would also improve on their behavior, and it won't do much. Sorry, let me reword that. It would help out their academics as well, like improve.
Brenda,
so it is better.
Thank you so much for speaking your mind with us. We definitely love getting feedback when it comes to a school teacher. Have a good night, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
And meanwhile, we start connecting more phone calls. You can definitely keep calling us. Miss Audrey, I think we have some comments.
Yes, we have Stacy that says like the social media as a whole for teens, in my opinion, can have a negative effect. However, I will not be a hypocrite and say I do not use these platforms. I had to learn how to take in the good and only use what benefits me. I believe it had to do with my age. As a teen, I was easily influenced, but as I get older, I can say I was able to take what is good for me. So we have many people that actually share the good and the bad, the pros and the cons. As we hear, social media has the problems of cyberbullying, of viral trends that can end badly, but we also know that it has its benefits. So if you want to continue to share your opinion, share your thoughts, go ahead and give us a call and send us a message, 437-233-9815.
I want to show you guys what the streets of Toronto had to say about the question that we're asking everybody. And when we come back, we're going to be answering some more phone calls.
So in your opinion, do you believe that social media has a more positive or negative impact on the young people?
I would say it's negative. It's a negative effect. It actually depends how you conceive social media. It has both positive and negative. If you take too much of social media, it becomes negative because you start doubting yourself physically, mentally, and however it be.
I think it has, well, both a positive and negative. So positive because it's a way for people to express themselves, even make money too. Like it's hard for a lot of people to get jobs. So social media allows that. But then it's negative because of the comparison. People, it's just like a lot to compare with. And so, yeah, it can be both good and bad.
There are like influencers and celebrities who try to encourage people to, through social media, being aware about social stuff or fitness or some educational stuff. So that would be positive. But in terms of negative, I've seen a lot of people like in fitness industry, they say that recently I just saw on social media that they claim that they have built natural body with natural food and stuff like that, but they end up taking some steroids and stuff. So you never know, like they claim to have natural, but it's not. And then you doubt yourself that I'm not fit enough, I'm not doing enough, so I need to. So it ends up with burnout, not just physically, but as well as mentally and emotionally as well.
People look at social media and they think what they're seeing is real, but in reality, it's not real. You don't really know what a person's actually going through based off of their social media points. Social media posts. You can see, maybe they have money or, they're flexing, but you don't actually know what they're going through. You're just seeing that image and you're, you know, correlating that to them being in a good situation, but it's probably not even like that. You never know.
What do you think could be like a negative effect on that, on the kids looking at those?
They try to replicate what they see. Like they'll see somebody flexing, they'll be like, oh, I gotta get like that person. And then they'll try to emulate that person's life, but you can't even do that. It's not even possible to do. You can't emulate another person's life. And trying to do that through social media, I don't think that's a good thing.
So you spoke about fitness. What about in general other unrealistic lifestyles that people show off?
Yes, there's like a lot of couples or relationship goals and stuff like that. They make content just to get views and followers. This is my opinion that when it comes to social media, what they show is something else, and behind the camera it's something else. So I try to trust them, but sometimes it's just like I know that it's not true. So
oh yeah, you know, it's not good. You know, people look at it and think it's a reality, but you know, it's people just do that for attention. So you cannot see whatever you see on TV or social media is a reality. You should copy it or do anything of the sort. You know what I mean?
that's not good for people because they lost their identity. So they're not sure what they really want to do. They only see a picture and they want to imitate the picture.
What do you think of the amount of time that is being spent on social media these days?
I think it's a lot. It's a lot. When I wake up in the morning, and I know a lot of young people do this too. They wake up, they check it before they go to bed. They check it as well. So a lot of time is spent on social media.
With that, I kind of understand. Like, some people are making a living off of social media, right? So I guess it depends what you're really doing. If you're not really monetizing it or making money, and you're just wasting time, wasting your life on it, like, what are we really doing here? But you know, some people are grinding and they have to make their living that way. So I can understand it that way too.
And now we have with us on the phone Edward. Edward, can you hear me?
Yes.
Edward, good evening. We're asking everybody the following question about social media. Do you think it has more of a positive impact on the youth or more of a negative impact on youth?
For me, I personally think that social media has a negative impact on the youth, because what we're seeing nowadays is a lot of youth that at this generation, what they want more is followers. What they want more is what other people's opinions on them, you know. And I believe that that can lead to a youth doing unthinkable things.
Do you think, Edward, there's a way that they can kind of channel all of that effort and all of that focus, that time spent on social media for something positive rather than just wanting followers and likes?
Of course, yes. Any youth is capable of doing that, you know. But like I said, because how social media is pushed and what nowadays the school, well, you know, to be famous, what youth want is to be famous, you know. I believe that is very hard for youth, you know.
I'm sorry for the question. Do you want to be famous, Edward?
No. I don't want to be famous.
If there was one thing, Edward, that you were able to change when it comes to social media, when it comes to, you know, especially what we see nowadays, what do you think you would change, or what type of awareness would you bring to the younger generation, or even to young people now, for them not to desire so much what they see on screen?
I guess what I would change in social media is the push on negative things, because if you watch something that's, let's say, a negative, you know, social media will push more content like that. You know, if you watch something, let's say, a depressing quote, you know, social media will push more of that genre to you, you know. And I believe that, you know, that's bad, and that's something that I would change. But as far as youth and how they could, you know, get out of this, I believe, you know, I guess speaking to someone that's close to them, somebody that's one, you could say, their friends or whoever they consider as a friend, you know, to speak to them about things.
Perfect. Edward, thank you so much for speaking your mind with us and for sharing your opinion. Have a good night, okay?
Yep, you too.
Thank you so much. You can keep calling us right now, 877-785-8700 or through WhatsApp, 437-233-9815. Miss Audrey, I think we have some comments, and also we have a poll on Telegram, correct?
Yes, correct, Pastor. I was actually going to mention it because I've been forgetting. I want to announce our poll that you can go ahead and scan the QR code and you can join our poll, and we'll be announcing the results during our program. And one comment that I wanted to read here, that is Jeff. He says like this: people have been becoming unsociable because they spend most of their valuable time using social media. The implication of overusing social platforms is that they are staying away from real friendships and relationships as well. So here we also have another negative impact that social media has. However, again, I kind of also want to give out the good of social media, because as we are connecting to you live right now from our studio, that you're able to participate of this program. So I want to say that there's not all bad, but again, we do have to be aware. And as many people have already mentioned, that it depends on each person that uses social media.
And now let's go to our next segment, how social media truly is affecting a lot of youth nowadays. We'll be right back.
The teenage brain, a mystery that has confounded parents for generations. Everyone wants to know what exactly is going on in those heads. Researcher Yalda Ools had the same question, but fast forward to 2014, and she's using social media to try to tap into what they're thinking.
I want you to write down on your boards what is an important value to you for your future.
She went one-on-one with teenagers in Los Angeles, trying to unlock that mystery. What's important to them? What are their priorities? What do they want?
Turn over your board and show us what it is.
It used to be teenagers' number one priority was to be part of the crowd, part of the community. Now it's money, and that four-letter word, fame. Chelsea Trotty is 10, and what rocks her world is this. Making small films and waiting for the likes from her social media friends. It's all about the likes.
Well, it feels really good to know that people appreciate my work, because I put a lot of work into the stuff, and so when they don't like it, kind of feel bad.
What's it like to be you and famous?
Well, it's like everyone rushes up to you. Oh my gosh. And, it would just be really cool.
So they'd all pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Not much difference with these grade 6 kids in Canada.
Okay, let's see hands up for iPads and iPods. Who does texting? Instagram?
Oh, yeah, Instagram.
Okay.
On Instagram, people can comment on your photos, oh, you look really pretty and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, these kids love their likes too.
Gives you a good feeling when someone likes the picture. I like it when people like my pictures, and it makes me feel really good.
Ah, but what about fame?
It would be awesome. Well, I mean, everybody would know your name and stuff. Everyone would just be all over you asking for your autograph. That's really hard.
That's a hard question.
Because, who doesn't want to be famous?
So why the change in values? Researcher Yalda Ools, mother of 2 teenagers, says it's no wonder. It's all around them.
Television had been around, forever. It's been around since the 50s, but the major change was social media. And these kids at this very young age were aware of it, and they were using it. And on top of it, the reason we think the television shows were now communicating this concept of fame to these kids, they were just reflecting what these kids already were doing.
The show she grew up with, remember the Andy Griffith Show, Happy Days, I Love Lucy, Laverne and Shirley, they had a whole different set of values, family values, a sense of community. Not anymore. She started comparing them to the shows her kids were watching. This one, Hannah Montana, about a teenager by day, famous rock star by night. And then the mother of all shows about the pursuit of fame, American Idol.
And we looked to see what were the values that were communicated in these shows. And what we found was that the number one value in those shows, out of a list of 16 values, was fame. And what was very interesting is that in every other decade, it was number 15 or 16.
Doesn't Richard look nice tonight?
That warm and fuzzy community feeling, gone.
So it's a complete flip.
Complete flip.
And that's not all. The online world today's teenagers are living in may bring them the fame and fortune they crave, but it can also bring heartbreak and bullying. Amanda Todd, Rehtaeh Parsons, Jamie Hubley. The list of victims grows. The dark side of the wired world. But neuroscientists in BC may have found answers in science.
When you're engaged with your phone or something external, these areas that are involved in daydreaming and thinking about your own thoughts and feelings shut off.
The answers may be in the brain. See that blue area of the brain? That's the area that learns empathy. What they found is that those areas that learn empathy are only active when you do nothing, when you daydream. And that's something today's teenagers don't do.
Kids are constantly engaged with their technology, their phones and the internet. They're not activating these brain areas that are important for self-reflection and reflecting on other people and allowing that empathy to emerge.
Do you guys daydream? Do you ever just kind of watch the clouds go by and not think about anything in particular?
Yeah.
How much time do you think you spend doing that, daydreaming?
Like 30 seconds a day. Yeah, probably. I'm so busy most of the time with sports and organized activities that I'm always on the go. I don't have a lot of time.
And if no daydreaming means no empathy, we could be developing a generation that cares less about other people.
When you're online and bullying, you don't get these cues that tell you, I need to inhibit this behavior that's having such a negative impact on another person. And therefore makes it very easy for bullying to continue.
But what worries parents and experts alike is how these fundamental changes to the way teenagers' brains are wired is going to change the way they live in their wired world. Pauline Dakin, CBC News, Los Angeles.
My name is Felicia Allen, and I suffered from depression. The main reason on why I ended up having depression was because I ended up getting raped from the age of 3 all the way to 11 until I moved out to the States. At the time, I was living with my uncle because my mom couldn't afford to take care of me. So I had to live with him and his wife until I came out here. He would sexually abuse me, and they would physically abuse me in any way possible. They broke my shoulder. I ended up in the hospital a lot. I just started to retaliate for the things that happened to me. I ended up taking some pills in high school, which ended up making me go to the hospital. And any male that came into my life, I felt like they cared about me more than my family did. Fast forward to college, I met a guy and he was nice at first and he made me feel happy, and I thought that the depression went away, but it didn't. It was just a cover up for what was in store for me. I ended up being prostituted, and I was a prostitute for about 4 years in Pomona, Las Vegas, LA, all over. And I ended up moving to Vegas to live with the individual. Things still weren't good. I still had depression. I ended up getting pregnant with twins, and he didn't like it. He wasn't too happy about it, and he would abuse me. He would put his hands on me. I would still have to go out on the streets and still sell my body. The depression got even worse once I carried the twins for about until I was like 39 weeks. And I ended up losing them. They passed away when I was giving birth. I was going to another church. It felt like home, but it still didn't help with the depression. They never talked about anything that had to do with depression until my sister moved out here. And when she moved out here, a family member told her about the Universal Church. Once I started coming here, I felt more at home. I started praying more. I ended up sacrificing my life. I got baptized. I felt a lot better. It was like a boulder was lifted off of my shoulder. I ended up forgiving the individual who raised me at a younger age. And I forgave the twins' father. And I forgave anyone who did anything wrong to me. And I haven't been depressed since. And I continue to pray, and I continue to just be happy and continue to come to the Universal Church.
And we're back with the closing moments of our program. Ms. Audrey, I think we have ended the poll, correct?
Correct, Pastor. As we have heard many people that have given their comments and have, mentioned on our live calls, it seems like the majority rule with social media having a negative effect. As we conclude the poll of today, we have 11% that say great information, access that can make anyone go forward in life. And we have 89% that say many youth are misled by what's shown on social media.
That's very, very unfortunate. Well, everybody's speaking their mind. But if one of the things that we can show you is something that I'm sure you've already seen, but maybe haven't taken too much note of. In this world, what people enjoy is kind of like that phrase, no misery loves company. We're always excited when it comes to breaking news, and as unfortunate as it can be, it's something that everyone's eyes are on. And the thing is, when I am someone who enjoys what's negative, or I delight in what's negative, unfortunately, that's something that I end up bringing upon myself, so much physically, but also mentally. And if it's one of the things that the Word of God shows us, is to not be transformed by the things of this world, but to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Because when I'm able to think things that are positive, when I'm able to think things not just to motivate me, but things that are going to keep me grounded, things that aren't going to allow me to change my idea because of a group of friends, because of a trend right now, because of the way a celebrity thinks, I'm able to be somebody not just independent, but who's firm, who truly is different from the rest. And God gives you that power. And maybe you're somebody, like we've been, stating, unfortunately, many of the times what's negative, it ends up being, and causing anxiety, depression. And I invite you right now to pray with us. If you allow me to pray for you, because maybe right now you were diagnosed with depression, you were diagnosed with schizophrenia, you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and you want help. Maybe you have a different problem right now and you don't know where else to go. I want to take a small pause. If you can, get a bottle of water or a cup of water ready, because when we come back, we're going to be praying for all of you.
Prepare a glass of water or get closer to your television screen. At this moment, we will have a special prayer to your name.
My Lord, in Jesus' name, for this person who is on the other side of the screen and has been having problems, my Lord, inside, whether it's a complex and insecurity, whether that be, my God, anxiety, like we had mentioned, suicidal thoughts. Maybe there are people, my Father, who are so inclined to see the negativity that has been going on in the world that it's as if all of that negativity has latched onto them, has been feeding off of them, and all that they see is darkness. All that they see is problems, and problem after problem, disease after disease, situation after situation, difficulty after difficulty. But you, my Lord, are the only one who can free us. You are the only one, my God. As many people have said, a lot on social media is a lie. People are misled on social media. And you, my God, you say, Jesus, you say, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So in Jesus' name, you who watch us right now, be free from all evil. Be free from any type of torture. Be free from anything that has been holding you back, that has been holding you down, that hasn't allowed you to go forward. And that this water be blessed in Jesus' name, that when you drink of it, it becomes that medicine, that supplement, that vitamin that you need, not only for your body, but for your mind and for your soul. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Let us drink now with faith in Jesus' name. God bless all of you. And this Sunday, you have the opportunity to be with us. We're here in Toronto, 2420 Dufferin Street. We're right there on the corner of Bowie Avenue and Dufferin, about a block and a half from Eglinton Ave. You can take the 29 bus or the 929 bus, and that'll land you right in front of our building. And if you're watching us right now and you have a problem that you haven't been able to overcome, you're going to be able to see, like many people every single Sunday, see the power of God work inside of their lives. You have that opportunity this Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, any concerns, 877-785-8700. God bless all of you. We'll see you next time.
Sunday of the Seven Prayers. In the gathering of faith and miracles, bringing restoration to health, prayer for your deliverance, to your love life, to your family, your financial life, for inner peace, and a real and true encounter with God. There are 7 prayers that will impact your life and destroy all your troubles, bringing new life in every way. Sunday of the Gathering of Faith and Miracles. Sunday at 10 a.m. 2420 Dufferin Street, 1 block north of Eglinton Avenue.